Hola clase, in this video I'm going to talk about informal commands or tu commands. Some people call it like that, tu commands. What is a command? Command is when you're telling someone to do something like open the window, study more, sleep more, come here, look at that. So you're telling people to do things, right? To do an action. So that's a command. Now, when do we use the informal ones? Mostly when you're talking to a friend or someone that you already know. If you don't know that person, you will be using the formal ones, which is a different topic. So right now we're going to use or learn about the ones that are informal ones. So the informal commands have two different forms. One for when you want to tell someone what to do, open the door, study more, and one for when you're telling someone what not to do. Don't open the door, don't wake me up, don't drink water, whatever it is. So we're gonna have for each verb, for example, estudiar, to study. You're gonna have one affirmative form to say study more, and one negative form to say don't study this, for instance. So you're gonna have one form affirmative, one form negative. Okay, that's important. Then the the beginning, the first form is gonna be the affirmative. We're gonna start with those. How do we conjugate? What is that affirmative form that we're using? Well, this is the easiest part. This is the super easy part about all of these commands. And it is that each verb, leer, cerrar, abrir, estudiar, viajar, any verbs, just put it in the present tense and then go through the forms until you get to the usted, ella, or él form. And that's going to be the form for the affirmative command. It's super easy. So let's say they want to say study more. Estudiar, the verb to study, is yo estudio, tú estudias, él or ella or usted estudia. Okay, so we're going to take that form, estudia, and that is the form that we use to say study more. Estudia más. Estudia verbos regulares, los verbos regulares. What about these verbs? What about abrir? Abrir is an IR verb. Abro, abres, abre. This is the third person, singular. And that's the one that we use to say open the door. Abre la puerta. Cerrar. If it has any little changes, if it's a stem change verb or any go verb, anything like that, if it has any changes, just keep them there, okay? So cerrar, yo cierro, is to close. Yo cierro, tú cierras, él cierra, or cierra. So this is the form that we use to say close the door, cierra la puerta, or cierra la puerta. And then leer, to read. Yo leo, tú lees, él lee. Okay, that's the third person, lee. And that's what you use to say, read that paragraph. Lee el párrafo. Lee ese párrafo. Okay? So that's it. To use the two commands, the affirmative commands, are going to be just the third person of the verb in the present tense. Now, we need to be, well, let's see some examples. I was going to say you need to be careful with the irregular verbs, but let's look at these examples first. Some examples. What do you tell your friend? Oh, buy 2 pizzas for tonight. Tonight we have a party, we have a birthday party, something. So it's like, oh, stop by the store and get 2 pizzas. Compra 2 pizzas. What do the teacher tell the student? Oh, study more, like I was saying. Estudia más, por favor. Please study a little bit more. Other examples. Bebe más agua. See, this is the form that I'm using. There's no other conjugations, no other endings or anything. It's just one form for affirmative. And then we'll look at the forms for the negative. But yeah, beber is yo bebo, tú bebes, él bebe. So the third person will be bebe. Bebe más agua. Drink more water. Usa una mascarilla en la universidad. Use your mask At the university, use a mask. So usar, the verb usar, uso, usas, usa. So usa is going to be the verb. The verb to look. Yo miro, tú miras, él mira. The third person is mira. So how do we say, hey, look at me, or look at that, look. That would be mira, just like that. Responde tu teléfono, answer your phone. Respond is to answer, responder. Responde tu teléfono. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the verbs that have reflexive verbs or verbs that have pronouns. But basically, when you have lavarse, to wash something, like to wash yourself or to take a shower, any of these reflexive verbs, what happens is you need to look at it kind of like it has a normal verb, lavar, and then it has the se, right? So the se is going to be the part that will become a pronoun, the te, and it will become this pronoun te because it's the do commands. It's informal commands. You're talking kind of in a more informal way in the tu or you form. So this is the pronoun that you're going to be using and attaching. You're going to be attaching it to the verb. So with lavarse, you're going to put, what is the third person of lavar? Yo lavo, tú lavas, él lava. Okay, we're using that third person, lava. And then we put that te because it's informal command. So for all of these commands, if you find a reflexive verb like this, just put the te attached to the verb. Lávate. Lávate las manos. Every time you attach a pronoun, you need to put an accent mark on the first vowel. Lávate las manos. What about take a shower? Dúchate mañana. Ducha plus the te. Dúchate mañana. Okay, so these would be some forms like that. Now, let's look at the irregular forms for these affirmative commands. Every time you want to say do something in an affirmative command, there are some irregular forms for some of these verbs. These are the verbs that are irregular: decir, hacer, ir, poner, salir, ser, tener, venir. Those are irregular forms or irregular verbs in this, in the affirmative commands, like I said. So these are the forms that you're using. For decir, it's going to be di. For hacer, it's going to be as. For ir, ve. There's only one form, so there's no other endings. There's no other conjugations. Just this form for poner. This form for salir. This form, se, for ser. Now, what do I have here? Vin Diesel with his muscles, and here, what is this? Profesora. Vin Diesel has 10 weapons. We use this weird sentence to kind of remember all of these. It's kind of like a little trick for you to remember all of these irregular ones, and they work like this. So, this is an easy way to remember that venir, to come. How do we say, oh, come here, come here? Venir is going to be ven. Decir is going to be di. For say or tell something, I'll show you a few examples in a second. Salir is going to be sal. Hacer, haz. This is a better organization so that you can use that sentence. Vin Diesel has 10 weapons. Vin Diesel has 10 weapons, huh? So like that, you will kind of remember all of the irregular verbs for informal commands. Okay, so this is just a little trick so that you can remember. Now let's see some examples. Let's see. Por ejemplo, how do we say come to the party? Remember, venir is going to be ven. Ven is right here. Ven a la fiesta, come to the party. Another one with the di. What do we say? So ven, say the truth, tell the truth. The verb decir is going to be di. So, di la verdad. You're telling someone, remember, these are commands. You're telling someone what to do. Oh, say the truth. Ven a la fiesta. Come to the party. One more. To go out or to leave a place. Go out with me tonight. Like, come out. Let's go somewhere. Sal is go out. When you're saying leave the room. Sal de la clase. Leave the class. Sal conmigo esta noche. Let's go out. Then to do or to make is hacer, and hacer is Haz, you have it right there. Haz los deberes, do your chores. Haz la tarea, do your homework. Haz la cama, make the bed. It's also the verb to make is hacer, so it will be with this form. Haz la cama, make your bed. And then tener is to have, and be careful also because tener, you can use it with some expressions that in English are to be. So when you're saying be careful with the plates because they are hot, that be careful is the verb tener. Ten cuidado. So ten is to have. We only use it with these expressions, this form, ten cuidado, because you don't say, I don't know, maybe like have a slice of pizza, ten un trozo de pizza, maybe like that. But it's hard to use this verb in a command form. Then the verb to go, ir, it will be the next one, ve. Ve al gimnasio, go to the gym. Ve a la clase, ve a tu casa, go to your house, go to the gym, go to class. So go to, remember that you're going to have ve a, that's the to, the place. Ve al gimnasio, ve somewhere. Go there. And then to turn on the radio or to put something somewhere or to place something somewhere is poner, which it would be pon. Pon la radio, turn on the radio. Pon el libro en la mesa. Put the book on the table. Pon el libro is to put or place the book or somewhere. And then the last one is going to be the verb to be. Be brave, be happy, be strong, be yourself. This is one of those famous quotes. Be yourself, sé tú mismo is yourself. Other people are already taken. Is that Oscar Wilde quote? Sé valiente, be brave. Esfuérzate. It's like make an effort and be brave. Yeah, so those are the regular ones, and that's all for the affirmative commands. We'll do a little review at the end, but that will be affirmative commands. And now let's look at the negative commands. These have a little bit more to it than just take the third person or it's an irregular verb. No. Here we have different steps and we need to follow all of them. Even number one, that is very important. If you want to say, don't open the door, don't drink water, don't come to class, don't write that in English. If you want to tell someone not to do something, we're doing this. Let's see. Take the yo form of the present of the verb. So if it's hablar, we're going to start with hablo. If it's estudiar, it's going to be estudio. Take that form, write it down. If it's leer, it's going to be leo. If it's correr, it's going to be corro. If it's comer, it's going to be como. Just take that form. We're going to drop that final O because all of them are going to have an O. So drop that final O ending. If it's hablo, habl, you take that O off, by. If it's correr, cor, and you stop there. And then whatever it is, just take the O off, by. Then we're going to add what we call in Spanish kind of. This is just a way to remember it, the opposite vowel. Why do we say the opposite vowel? Just because if it's an AR verb, the one that you're working with, like hablar, you already have habl, you already took the O off. It was an AR verb, right? So if it was an AR verb, you're going to add at the end ES. Now, if the verb you're working with is an ER verb or an IR verb, let's say we're talking about comer or vivir, like we have here. We already looked at the yo form. We dropped that O at the end, and then we're going to add AS. So this is what we have, comas or vivas. The last step, and very, very important because without this, you're not going to have a negative command, is you need to add a no in front of that. So to say like, don't speak or don't eat or don't study, don't whatever. So yeah, we're going to add that no in the front and then we're going to keep that form. hables. No hables means don't speak or don't say something, to talk or to say something. What about don't eat? No comas. We already went through all those steps. You take the verb, you put it in the yo form, you drop that o, com, and then you add the opposite vowel. If it was an er verb, in this case, I already put the es. And then don't forget about the no, no comas. What if it was don't live in that part of the city? Don't find a house there. Well, it would be no vivas, no vivas. So remember, er verb and ir verbs, you're going to add an es. If it's an AR verb, you're going to add an ES. Now, like I said before, if there are any spelling changes in the yo form, any little changes in the vowel or whatever, if it's a same change verb, just keep it. You will be keeping those changes, okay? For example, decir, the verb to say something, to tell something, the yo form is digo. So you just keep all of that. You're going to drop that O. That's the second step. You drop the O. And then you put the opposite vowel. The opposite vowel, if it's an IR verb, is going to be AS. And then don't forget the no. Poner, same thing. It was pongo. Well, let's just use everything. Let's go to that's the yo form, the first step. Drop the O is the second step. We have it here. And then opposite vowel. If it was an ES, let's add an AS at the end with the no. Same thing with this, cerrar. The E, it changes to IE, so just keep those changes. Drop it was the yo form. Well, that would be wrong. It would be cierro is the yo form. And then we drop that O, and then we add the opposite vowel. If it was an AR verb, we're going to add ES. And don't forget the no. Perfect. Okay, so those are some examples for negative comments. These are the steps that you always need to follow. These are the same examples that we had before, but now in a negative form. So if you want to tell someone, don't buy 2 pizzas, we already have enough, we're good. Don't buy, how do we say don't buy something? No, don't forget the no. And then the verb comprar, I already put it in the yo form, compro, I dropped the O and put the opposite vowel. It was an AR verb, so now I add ES. Same thing, follow those 3 steps, 3 or 4, because you cannot forget about the no. And that's it. No estudies más, don't study more. Let's see these examples just with a no. No bebas más agua, don't drink more water, don't use a mask, it's not necessary anymore, the virus is gone. I wish. No mires, don't look. Don't answer your phone, no respondas. But see, with all of these verbs, these are easy because they are regular verbs. But if they had any little changes, you just keep them all there. Now, careful with reflexive verbs. I'll show you in a second a few other examples. But when you're saying don't shower, when you need to put the no or the pronoun, remember that the pronoun was attached to the verb before? You can go back to the other slide that I mentioned earlier, or the video. You can go back on the video. So this te, it was attached to the verb. Now this te needs to be in between the no and the verb. No te laves las manos. But I've done the same to this verb. Lavar. I go to the yo form, lavo, I drop the O, okay, and put the opposite vowel. I mean, the opposite to an AR is going to be ES, laves, okay? I have laves, I have no, and let's put the te in the middle because it's a reflexive verb. So that would mean don't wash your hands. And then dúchate was the affirmative. How do we change it? No te duches would be the negative form. This was the affirmative, but it will be now no te duches. Okay? Okay, those are the examples. Now, the negative comments, the negative forms, there are 5 verbs that also are irregular. They're always irregularities with Spanish. Sorry. Yeah, so there is one letter here that is outside the video, but I'll tell you, no, it's fine. So how do we remember that dar, the verb to give, the verb to go, the verb to know, the verb to be for location, and the verb to be for location and other things, and then ser, the verb ser, to be, they are irregular when you're using them with a no in the negative form. How do we remember? Well, we have this D-I-S-H-E-S, dishes, and that's why I put the dishes here. Because if you, here I'm missing the H because this is barely used and you're barely gonna find this. Well, you could, but we're not gonna really go over this. I want to focus on these ones that are a little bit more common. So when you're saying, oh, don't give this to the baby, no this, whatever, to whoever. Don't go, no vayas, this is super common. Don't go to the movies, no vayas al cine. Don't go to school or to class, no vayas a la clase. Always after to go, you need a and the letter A. If it's for a place, okay? This one is very used also. I sometimes don't even teach it because when will you say, don't know that? You could put it in a sentence like, I don't know, but you won't tell someone as a command, like, don't know that. It's weird. It doesn't make sense for me to even like teach it, but it's here just in case. And then don't be at the school at 7. Something's gonna happen. So no estés, no estés. Don't be there later. Just go home. And then don't be silly. When it's more like a characteristic, you'll be using ser. So no seas tonto, no seas estúpido. Don't be stupid. Don't be silly. So no seas would be the form that we use for a command with a no, with in a negative form. So these are the irregulars. And maybe you'll remember by kind of remember the dishes. Those are the verbs that are a little bit different. Okay, so let's see. Just a little bit about the pronouns. Like I said before, if it's acostarse, ducharse, lavarse, remember that the se will become te in all of them, negative and affirmative. But now, if it's affirmative, you're going to attach it to whatever form, the command form. If it's negative, you're going to put it in the middle, in between the no and the form. And then if it's a sentence where you have pronouns, necesito comprar un libro para ti. I need to buy a book for you. Sometimes this is a direct object and it could be replaced by lo. This is a indirect object. This could be replaced by te. So, necesito comprarlo para ti. Te lo necesito comprar. I'm just rephrasing the question. So, do I need to buy a book for you? Someone is talking to someone else, and that other person says, yes, buy it to me. Yeah, I know you need to buy it to me, for me. So, it will be sí. Compra, buy it for me. If you have pronouns, what I want you to know is if you have any pronouns that you've learned before, you need to put them somewhere on a command. If it's affirmative, you're going to attach them to the command right after. If it's a negative command, you're going to put them in the middle, same thing that we did before. You're going to put them in the middle in between the no and the command form. No compres, don't buy. But in this case, it would be don't buy it for me or to me. Don't buy it to me. This is buy it to me. This is don't buy it to me. Yeah, and careful because an accent mark is going to be added to that command once you put the te. Okay, so careful. Usually not in the last syllable, but the previous to the last syllable. Usually is going to be there, the accent mark. Okay, so one little thing about the negative commands is that the verbs that end in car, gar, and sar, we've seen this before in the preterite. We saw that these verbs had some changes and we had to change in the yo form to yo busqué, I looked for something. Yo pagué, yo almorcé. We've seen this before. Now, these verbs also have this little thing here happening, that is that when you're using them in a command form, like, oh, look for my keys, or pay the bill, you're telling someone to do something, okay? This is a command. Pay the bill, pay the ticket, whatever. Almorzar, go eat lunch, so eat lunch now. Almorzar. When you're using them in a command form, you need to be careful because you're using kind of like a different ending. You're just going to use busques. You're going to use kes, guess, and ses. It's very similar to the preterite that you should have seen before. If you haven't seen it, well, it's just like the preterite form, the past tense, the preterite, just with a no form. It says the opposite to ending is still used. If there's a stem change in the present tense, yo is still used. So just keep any little changes. Remember those 3 steps. Yo form, drop the O, put the opposite vowel. It's just here, it's very similar. It's just the same. Just be careful because it's going to look just with kiss, guess, and says. It's just the same little changes that happened before. So careful with those car, got, and sar verbs. And then as a summary, just remember, the affirmative ones are kind of easy. The negative ones, you need to follow those little steps. So if we have a verb that ends in AR, cantar, to say sing, sing to me, you're going to just go to the third person. Canto, cantas, canta. That is the form that we're using. Canta, sing that song. Canta, esa canción. If you want to say that in negative, you need to be careful because you need to follow those little steps. Yo form is canto, drop the O, cant, and then we're going to add es and put a no. No cantes. Don't sing. I don't like how you sing, so stop it. Don't sing. No cantes. Aprender. An ER verb. So the third person is going to be aprendo, aprendes, aprende. Okay, that's the one that I'm going to use. Learn this. Aprende esto. Learn the regular verbs. Aprende verbos regulares. Don't learn this. How do we say it? Well, take the verb, put it in the yo form, aprendo, drop the O, and then add AS because it's an ER verb. No aprendas, don't learn. And then vivir, we did it before. Yo vivo, tú vives, él vive. This is the third person. Oh, live here in this house. Vive. Don't live here. No vivas. And the same thing. I already went to the yo form, drop the O, put the AS at the end. So that will be a little summary. This is a quick activity, and I'm going to finish with this. When we have different, we have some options here. Mirar el mapa, to look at the map, to be careful, tener cuidado. No ir al centro comercial, don't go to the mall. Go to ir a la oficina de correos. Okay, to the post office. No salir a las 4:50. Don't leave or don't go out at 4:59. Tomar el autobús, take the bus. Okay, so it says use the command, the mandato apropiado, the appropriate command for each situation. You need to send a letter to your grandma. What are we going to say? Probably go to the post office, right? How do we say go to the post office? How do we change this to use a command? Ir, remember that is an irregular verb, and it's one of the Vin Diesel has 10 weapons. So be careful because ir is going to be ve. That is the affirmative command. Ve a la oficina. There's a lot of traffic at 5 p.m. So maybe this one, don't leave at 4:59 then if you want to make it, or if you don't want to be stuck in traffic, right? So how do we say don't leave? Salir. Salir, if you want to use it in the negative form, salir, the yo form, you need to follow the 3 steps. Yo form, salgo, drop the O, salg, and then it's an IR verb, so we're going to put an AS. Salgas, and don't forget the no. No salgas, don't leave at a las 4:59. Okay. You have to go to the health center, to the doctor, but it's very far from where you live. Maybe you need to take the bus. How do we say tomar el autobús? How do we change this to a command? Take the bus. If it's just affirmative, it's not irregular, it's not one of the irregular ones, so just go to the third person. Tomo, tomas, toma el autobús. Third person of the present tense. Toma el autobús. Okay, take the bus. Now you have to drive, tienes que conducir at night in the rain. Maybe be careful, right? Tener cuidado is to be careful. And we're using the verb tener, so tener esa, if it's affirmative, it is one of the Vin Diesel has 10 weapons. So then it's gonna be ten. Ten cuidado. Tener, ten. Make sure you write down those irregular verbs several times and practice. And then Sara te pide direcciones a la iglesia. Is asking you for directions to the church, but you don't really know well the city. So yeah, I was already thinking about it. Look at the map. Look the map. Look at it. So how do we say look? We already went over this before. Mirar el mapa. Mirar is gonna be yo miro, tú miras, él mira. Mira el mapa or mira el plano. This is a different word. Okay? Mira el plano, mira el mapa. It's for like street map. And then the last one, you don't have money to go shopping. Well, don't go to the mall, right? How do we say don't go? Careful. This is a regular and it's negative. The negative commands have 5 irregular verbs, and this is one of them. Don't go is you just have to basically memorize. It's one of those like dishes verbs, and it's gonna be no vayas al centro comercial. No vayas al centro comercial. Okay. Make sure you take you use these the worksheets that I've included and or that I gave you if you're in class or if you're in an online class that you have with you or in the folder where you can find the resources, extra resources. And yeah, make sure you look at everything. This is a summary, affirmative, the irregular ones, negative with all the different steps and the different irregular dishes verbs and the pronouns, and that's it. There's more practice later in other worksheets. So let me know if you have any questions, and that's it for this video. Adios.